So, Bill, the first question I want to ask, I understand you were in high school when Pearl Harbor happened, and I equate that a little bit to a lot of us. I was in 8th grade when 9/11 occurred. So I would imagine you were a freshman or sophomore that year. If you can remember when Pearl Harbor happened, as a young man, did you maybe connect that you might be going to war at that time, or did it take a
Absolutely not.
And I guess what was your reaction? I think that was your generation's 9/11. Walk us through what that moment meant to you as a young man.
Well, we used to listen to the radio, and when they told us that Pearl Harbor was bombed, I didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was. But after the president got on the bed and he said, "This is war," then I started to understand that we're in a battle, and that's how I felt at that particular time, not realizing that this was a terrible thing, but because I didn't know uh, what had happened in Pearl Harbor and why this was happening.
So as you were going through high school, as you got closer to graduating your senior year, when did you decide that did you enlist or did you get drafted out of high school?
I enlisted.
Okay, and when did you make that decision?
Well, the war is on. I'm one of the youngest kids on the block in the Bronx, New York. All my buddies who are a little bit older than me, they're all in the Army, they're in the Navy, and I'm all walking the streets. I haven't got no more baseball with these guys. And I decided I'm not going to be the only one on the street. I went down to I think it was Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and I enlisted.
And Bill, at that time, as a young man, was there almost peer pressure to join one of the armed services? Like, almost as if you didn't, you were kind of seen as a coward, or was it just so universal that everyone was pretty much doing it?
No, not everybody was doing it, but I did hear one lady on the street saying, "I wonder what that guy is doing on the block where my kid is in the Army fighting the war." That's what I heard. That's one of the reasons I went down and enlisted. And when I came home and I told my mother, I said, "Mom, I enlisted." You know what she said to me? "If you want to get killed, you should have stayed home. I would have taken care of it."
Wow. Well, I think that summarizes the sentiment at that time. And obviously, before World War II, U.S. was in isolationism mode, and of course, the attack, December 7th, 1941, changed all of that and threw us into a Second World War. So as I understand it, you went to basic training, and then you got sent to England. When you were in England, when did you become aware of the operations you guys were going to be conducting? Did they read you guys in pretty quickly on the missions, or did they keep it kind of secret until it was closer to execute?
Everything was secret. We didn't know when we were going to be flying. We didn't know where we were flying. The only ones that knew were the pilot and the navigator. And we didn't understand. Everything that we did flying was all radio silence. So we didn't know where we were going. But once we were in the air, we could, on the intercom between us, we could understand we're going to, we're flying over the North Sea, but we didn't know exactly where. And so we were never told. But when we originally went into this to Harrington, where the carpetbaggers were flying out of for the OSS, they took us into a room and they said to us, "Look, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be flying at night. You'll be flying about 500 feet above the deck." What was the next thing? Oh, and they said it'll only be at night, only during the moon nights. So if you're interested in doing this, you can sign up now, and we'll let you do this. If you don't want to do it, you can forget about it. you can go, you can actually leave here and make sure that you don't mention anything about what you've just heard here. And that's when they told us it was a secret thing. So we decided we're going to do it. The whole crew got together and said we're going to do it.
And Bill, did you feel confident in the job you were doing? And I asked that because it's crazy that in times of war, how condensed the training periods get, where there's guys just going through a quick basic and then they're right in the middle of a war or right in the middle of something that they weren't priorly trained for. So did you feel a level of confidence in the missions you were doing, or was there definitely some nervousness there?
There was no always confident in flying and knowing what we were doing, what our job was. But what they told us before we even started is that if you go out and talk about this to anybody, you will be brought back and shot. And that's what we decided. You know, we don't want to get shot, not by us or by our own guys.
And you were a turret gunner?
I was a top turret gunner and an engineer, actually assistant engineer.
Okay, and explain that. So in a B-24, how many turret spots are there?
Well, on the B-24 that we flew, we didn't have a nose turret.
Okay.
So eliminate that. We did have a top turret, which I took care of. There was a bottom turret that was taken out that wasn't used. There was a tail turret, and there was a tail turret. So the turrets were two, a rear turret and a top turret, like me. Okay. The reason we didn't have the bottom turret is they took the turret out, and we used that as what they called the Joe hole. The Joe hole is where we dropped out agents through that hole. We didn't have to open up a Bombay to drop anybody out.